welcome back to my channel. It is Amanda. Today I am here with a video about palettes that I'm decluttering. What I've done through this whole year is choose a number of palettes, 10 or so, to use each month, just to use my palettes. I love eyeshadow palettes. It's my favorite makeup product. I'm not going to say that I'm sorry that I love eyeshadow. I use eyeshadow, I wear eyeshadow almost every day. It's my favorite makeup product, it's my favorite makeup step. I love eyeshadow. So I have a lot of eyeshadow. In order to get the most use out of all of them, I wanted to rotate through my collection a little bit. And in doing so, I have decluttered a lot of the palettes that, not a lot, some of the palettes that I have been using. So I'm going to go through my little list here. I've been keeping track of each month of how many times I've used an eyeshadow palette. We're going to talk about the ones that I am decluttering. Let's get to it. Okay, I have already passed on some of these, so I don't have all of them. But in January, I'm not going to tell you what month it is. The first palette would be the KKW Beauty Smoky Volume 1. This was on sale at Ulta, and this was just a little mini 6-pan, but I used it a few times and it just wasn't that exciting to me, so I did end up returning that one. That one's been gone for a while. The next palette is the Melt Cosmetics Gemini palette. I know this is a rare palette that everyone seems to want, but I just didn't love this palette. I thought it was very patchy, and these are grungy colors, maybe a little more difficult to formulate. I took that into account. It's still not easy to work with, in my opinion, so I did actually declutter this. The Tarte and Adelaine Morin palette. There wasn't anything wrong with this palette, but there wasn't anything special about this palette either, so I have removed this. I can't remember who I gave this to, but it's not here anymore. Okay, we have some from Dominique Cosmetics, the Berries and Cream palette, and also the Latte palette. Again, there was nothing really wrong with this formula, but it just wasn't anything that I thought was amazing. It was fine, but I am trying to have a collection that's manageable, and I didn't think that I would be reaching for these that much, so I passed those on. The same with the Pure Cosmetics Barbie palette. Nothing wrong with it. It's actually a very nice palette. I liked the colors and I like how it performed, but I just felt like I wasn't going to be reaching for it that much, and I honestly forgot I decluttered it until just now. We have a couple from Too Faced, which is interesting. The Gingerbread Spice and the Chocolate Gold palette. The Gingerbread Spice I always felt was a little lackluster. It's very neutral, which here's the thing. Obviously, I'm not a very neutral person. I like colorful palettes. I like very saturated colors. So that's part of the reason that some of these palettes have left my collection. Not that there's anything wrong with the palettes. I think that the Too Faced formula is generally pretty nice. I just knew that I wasn't going to get the most use out of those palettes. The Juvia's Place, the Masquerade Mini. I think Juvia's Place makes some absolutely beautiful color stories, but I have trouble finding the best way to work with some of the formulas. I think their mattes are very nice, but their shimmers almost seem like they're, I don't know how to describe it. I don't ever love how they look when I wear them. So I did pass on the Masquerade Mini palette and also the Saharan, which was probably my favorite Juvia's Place palette, but I hadn't reached for it. And in this month of, you know, using this palette, I only wanted to wear it once, so I thought that's probably time. Also, the Milani Gilded Coast palette. The Gilded formula from Milani is just not my favorite, and I have learned that. The BH Cosmetics Trendy in Tokyo palette. I love BH Cosmetics. I absolutely love BH Cosmetics. But this is one of their first like travel themed palettes, and I believe they have since reformulated it. Since this is a bright palette, and those are typically difficult shades to formulate, I am confident that if I don't think I will be repurchasing the updated formula, but I know that the formula would be better. This isn't terrible, but it's just not something that I want to take the time to work with. It isn't as like punchy as I want it to be. The Milani Gilded Getaway palette. I do think that this Gilded formula, it looks like a little like van, like camping van. I think that this is better than the previous Gilded formula, but it's still not absolutely amazing. So I did pass that on, I think because I can't find it. Okay, we have actually some Colourpop palettes. You guys know I love Colourpop. The first is Miss Bliss, And this is just very, I know this is an orange and pink palette, but it's very neutral. And I want more. I don't really wear light pink looks. I think my friend Heather sent this to me, and I used it a few times and I thought, oh, that's not for me. Then we have the Mar palette. And while I really like Mar, this is one of their first pressed shadow palettes. Not the first, but it's definitely an older one, and it is just not performing like I know the Colourpop eyeshadows can. Also, I don't have it. I don't know where I put it. I also removed Baby Got Peach. Again, it's very peachy. I'm just not a peachy kind of person. The Colourpop Garden Variety palette. I think this color story is so beautiful, but these are just like, what is happening with this versus the other like punchy shimmers that Colourpop does? I was very disappointed by that. I had purchased some from TJ Maxx, the Cara Beauty brand, which I've heard great things about. And it's not that these were terrible, but they just weren't that exciting to me, so I actually passed on 4 of them. Life of the Fiesta, Poetry of Love, Starry Eyes, and Make a Statement. I think they were all like $6 when I purchased them, so that should have been I mean, price doesn't matter, but I did not care for these, so I removed those. We also had several from Makeup Revolution, and I used to love the Makeup Revolution Forever Flawless formula. I genuinely thought it was very good, and the more I use it, the more I just think maybe my preferences have changed. So the Utopia palette, and then also the Birds of Paradise palette. I don't even think I use the Birds of Paradise palette. Also, the other 3 Makeup Revolution Forever Flawless palettes that I had, the Chilled palette with all these beautiful greens. And there's a couple pressed glitters in here as well. And then the Constellation palette. I just felt like these shimmers were getting really difficult to work with, and they weren't delivering like they used to. And like I said, maybe my tastes have changed. That happens. And then the Optimum palette. This one's just kind of boring to me. Next we have the Milani Old Obsessions palette. This is the Milani formula that is so nice, but it's also so old. So I think it's starting to go because the shimmers are getting a little bit flaky. The mattes are very powdery, and that is not how this used to perform at all. So this is time to just go. The same goes for the Pure Passion and Most Loved mattes. These are both older palettes. This is the very like warm one. And this is all mattes. They're just very chalky, and like I said, that's not how they used to perform. The Dominique Cosmetics Lemonade palette, this is one that my friend Heather sent, and I used it a few times. This purple color is absolutely beautiful, and if I could keep just this color, I probably would. But I also don't feel like depotting one color and ruining the whole palette when I can give the entire palette to someone. Nothing wrong with this. Again, just not anything that I absolutely need in my life. Another from Colourpop, which is kind of surprising again. This is the Aura and Out palette. These pastels are shades I very, very, very rarely reach for, and it's not worth taking up space in my drawer. The Frozen palette, I never really figured out how I liked to wear this palette the best, because honestly, like, I'm probably not going to wear blue and burgundy together. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like you should be able to. I don't know. This is one that I think is so pretty, and I love this silver called Ice Crystals. It's so sparkly. Where's my towel? But I just never feel like I know what to do with this palette. I usually feel like I know what to do with an eyeshadow palette, and this one I'm just like, I don't get it. And then we also have the Proceed With Caution, which is a collab with Shayla, Makeup Shayla and Colourpop. And this is a beautiful palette, but I just don't reach for it. This is a little too neutral for me at this point in my life. And then the very first palette that Colourpop ever did was the Yes Please palette. This is just old. It is old. Old. Do they still make this? I love the colors in this palette. It's very warm. It's very bright. It's not the colors. It's just very old. And I know, because I know that this is their first eyeshadow, like pressed powder eyeshadow, and I know what their pressed shadows do now, I know this isn't as good as it could be. So we're removing that. And then the Perception palette, the Shayla and Colourpop, this is the second one. And I'm torn on this one because I think this is so pretty, but I just never use it. I should remove it, right? The Lorac Pro 2 palette. This is so old. I love this palette. The Lorac formula is a little bit powdery. That doesn't bother me, but I just want more for my shimmers these days. So that's why I'm removing this, because I'm only using half of the palette if I use it. The Ofra Cosmetics Signature Palette in Empowered. I just really don't care for the Ofra eyeshadow formula. I've used the purple shade that was called like purple palette, I think it was called Glitch, and this one, and I just don't care for them. I think that they're a little bit patchy, and the shimmers, again, just aren't enough. I want a lot of shimmer, okay? I'm not one of those old ladies that's like, I don't want to wear shimmer. I want all of the shimmer. And then we have the Buxom Boss Babe Dolly. This is a beautiful eyeshadow palette. I might see if my mom wants this one because I feel like she would really like these colors. But again, I just want more. I want more. Nothing wrong with it. It's quite lovely. I just want more. I think I see what that one. And then the very last one is one that I'm thinking about. I'm not sure that I'm removing this. LA Girl Desert Dream, and then this is the Backstage palette. I got this on clearance at Ulta for $4, so it's not a huge loss if I do pass this on. I just feel like this does not perform like the other 16 pan shadows that LA Girl makes in this, you know, style of, what am I trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say. The huge, enormous palettes. I feel like this doesn't perform the same way. The shimmers are like very, very hard pressed, and you have to dig into them to get shimmer. The mattes are fine, but I'm here for the shimmers, guys. I don't know. I might keep this one for a little bit. We'll see. So those are all going. I'm going to pass these on to family or friends. Do you guys have any of these palettes? If you have any of these palettes that I was confused by, tell me your favorite way to work with them. Particularly the Elsa one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye.